Like San Diego, Tijuana is dealing with a large homeless population, many of whom were deported from the U.S. How the city is handling the situation coming up.
I am a climate modeler. I work at NOAA's Geophysical Fluid Dynamics Lab in Princeton, New Jersey.
A working scientist from across the country taking up temporary residence in City Heights to bring a unique learning experience to area students.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Peggy.
No problems with the pills?
No, not at all.
And a new smartphone app that could save you a trip to the doctor. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. As San Diego struggles to handle problems related to homelessness, Tijuana faces a similar challenge. The city has a history of dealing harshly with people who are homeless, but is making strides to become more humane in its approach. KPBS investigative reporter Jean Guerrero crossed the border to see how that's going.
Tijuana's homeless migrants are widely seen by residents as a nuisance, bad for business, protagonists of petty crime, drug addicts. In March of 2015, the city evacuated a main encampment in the Tijuana River Canal and shipped more than 1,000 homeless people to rehab. Jose Alberto Zavala says he and others were locked up against their will.
What they do is a kidnapping. It's a violation of human rights.
At the time of the mass relocation, a KPBS investigation uncovered a number of problems. Some people were reported missing. Not everyone placed in rehab had a drug addiction. Others were hit by cars and killed when running away during raids. Now, the canal is mostly empty. It's a story that may seem foreign and far away, especially as San Diego struggles with its own homeless population. But those living on the streets in Tijuana are also, in part, a U.S. problem. Many of these people have dreams of living north of the border, some with American citizen relatives. Jaime Arredondo is a global health researcher at UC San Diego who studies Tijuana's homeless.
So I think they're the most vulnerable part of the population, and I think it's kind of unfair to deal on them the stigma of criminals.
In 2009, Mexican federal law decriminalized the possession of small amounts of heroin, marijuana, and other drugs. But Tijuana's city code allows police to arrest people for consuming drugs in public, as well as things as wide-ranging as inciting vice or bothering people in public. New Tijuana Police Chief Marco Antonio Sotomayor says the city is still arresting homeless migrants for a number of such crimes.
About 70% of the people we detain are homeless people who commit minor crimes.
But now, instead of heading straight to rehab without a diagnosis, these homeless migrants receive a mental health evaluation. If diagnosed, they're offered a choice: rehab or jail time. Social Development Minister Mario Osuna says the city has placed more than 750 homeless migrants in rehab.
We're completely changing our approach because it's not about locking people up to keep an area clean. It's about giving them an opportunity to change their lives.
When asked to clarify exactly how this approach differs from the last administration's, which also involved rehabilitation, Osuna says the distinction is accountability. Officials are now tracking those placed in rehab.
The rehab process couldn't be quantified before because there was not a registry of the people put in rehab. There were also some human rights issues, allegations that people were disappearing, which we don't have anymore because we have an account of everyone.
KPBS asked to view this registry, but a spokesman said he's still reviewing the request. Both officials say they think they can tackle the city's crime problem by solving the addiction problem. But ever since Tijuana started clearing homeless off the streets in 2015, homicides have only increased from 670 to 910, reaching a record high of more than 1,700 last year. Tijuana police continue to patrol the canal, as well as the Mexican army. Arredondo of UC San Diego says the city should be using those resources to combat cartel crimes. He says the military isn't equipped to deal with mental health issues.
It's like using a machete to do a surgery. You know, you are really using a blunt tool to say something that is really extremely delicate.
He says the city should offer methadone to wean people off heroin and provide safe consumption rooms. To fill the gap, a nonprofit called Prevencasa offers drug users clean syringes to prevent the spread of HIV and hepatitis C. Joana Castañeda is a health promoter at Prevencasa. She says many homeless migrants come to Prevencasa for medical treatment because at the public hospital they're forced to wait longer than anyone else.
They are suffering discrimination with a lot of people, not just the society, but even with healthcare providers.
Others end up at the clinic because they self-mutilate. A lot of them know police won't take them to jail if they have open wounds. So instead, they hurt themselves. Yolanda Mesa says she cuts herself with a heroin needle.
I tell her, hey, look, I got a cut or I got a spiral biter, and then let me go.
Mesa says the new police strategy means she gets picked up less often. But she still feels the need to hide, something she's been doing for nearly a decade since being deported from the U.S.
I experienced discrimination over there and over here. It's like they don't want me over there, but they don't want me over here. I mean, right in the middle.
From Tijuana, Jean Guerrero, KPBS News.
For more on Jean's investigation into Tijuana's migrants, head to our website at kpbs.org. A state watchdog agency has fined San Diego Assemblywoman Shirley Weber for not reporting contributions in a timely manner during her 2014 re-election campaign. iNews Source reporter Leonardo Castañeda has the story.
The California Fair Political Practices Commission last week fined Democratic Assemblywoman Shirley Weber $4,000 for not reporting large donations by the required deadline. They include $4,100 from Laureen Powell Jobs, widow of Apple co-founder Steve Jobs, and $8,200 from the United Domestic Workers of America Action Fund. Weber also was late in reporting contributions her campaign made, including to the California Democratic Party and to the election of Assemblyman Sebastian Ridley Thomas, a Los Angeles Democrat. The commission concluded the errors by Weber's campaign were due to negligence. Her campaign spokesman agreed, saying the late filings were mistakes that won't happen again. He also said the $4,000 in fines have already been paid. This year, Weber is again running for re-election. For KPBS, I'm iNews Source reporter Leonardo Castañeda.
iNews Source is an independently funded nonprofit partner of KPBS. A multi-million-dollar science center is coming to San Diego, but it won't be on a university campus. It's opening soon in City Heights. KPBS reporter Taryn Minto introduces us to the current scientist in residence, who's hoping to get area students excited about learning in the living lab.
Your own street number and your own mailing address?
I don't think so.
Jasmine John is still settling into her new but temporary home in San Diego City Heights neighborhood.
This is where the scientist in residence is going to live.
The studio apartment includes the basics: furniture, mini fridge, dishes, plus a special request for the kitchen.
We also have a step stool. I did request a stool because I'm a little short and I would need to reach the top shelves.
Though short in stature, she's not short in science.
I am a climate modeler. I work at NOAA's Geophysical Fluid Dynamics Lab in Princeton, New Jersey.
She's using her temporary tenure to enhance science education for the area students. Right now, John says she's developing a curriculum to teach sixth graders how to plot measurements collected from San Diego's ocean waters.
Having the students be a scientist and understanding the part of the scientific process may be collecting data. And so once they have that data, they'll come back to the lab and plot the data. That's also part of the scientific process.
John's residency is the latest development from the upcoming Living Lab. The Interactive Science Center actually pushed back its grand opening date last year, in part due to construction delays caused by rains. The facility comes from a partnership between San Diego Unified and the nationally recognized nonprofit Ocean Discovery Institute. The organization teaches area youth about the ocean through a watershed in the lower-income community, which is where the new facility is located.
So this is our Eco Lab, and this is where we would have aquarium along that wall back there.
That's Ocean Discovery Institute's Carla Camacho. She says the Living Lab's 2 laboratories will help the nonprofit reach thousands more kids with enhanced hands-on education.
This lab is mainly for kind of doing dissections with sea stars, or let's say they find something in the canyon and they want to bring it in here, like different plants and things like that. That's what this lab would mainly be for.
The sprawling campus includes includes added elements that will help the nonprofit broaden its focus, such as a rooftop garden and a kitchen.
We're going to have these programs where students are learning about the science of health, and so it'll include, fitness classes, healthy cooking classes, and as a part of that will be kind of where does your food come from as well.
Camacho says the goal is to open the Living Lab's doors this fall, but doesn't have a firm date yet. In the meantime, NOAA researcher John is working to leave her mark on the Living Lab's programming.
This year we won't have tanks, but next year we hope to have tanks, and we'll have mystery tanks where we have different temperatures and pHs.
Based on their research, students will assess the temperature and pH levels of the different tanks and determine which one represents data from the past, present, and projected future, and what that means for wildlife.
To sort of build that idea of climate and climate changing and climate models, and we'll ask them to start thinking which animal is your animal that you have going to survive in these tanks? Which one?
But personally, the Trinidad and Tobago native says she wanted her time at the Living Lab to provide City Heights students something she didn't have, a role model.
It can spark that little, curiosity, or saying, wow, this is something that is really cool, and maybe I would like to do that someday.
John moves out of the Living Lab in mid-April, but will continue advising on programming. Ocean Discovery Institute is recruiting now to bring another scientist here in the fall. Taryn Mento, KPBS News.
The Living Lab offers weekly tours. Go to kpbs.org to find out more. A federal audit reveals California enrolled an estimated 450,000 people in the Medi-Cal program who may have been ineligible. KPBS health reporter Kenny Goldberg says the audit comes from the U.S. Health and Human Services Inspector General.
The Inspector General's audit is based on an examination of 150 Medi-Cal beneficiaries. It covers a period from October 2014 to March 2015. That's when California was in the process of expanding the Medi-Cal program under the Affordable Care Act. Auditors say during that time frame, California spent more than $1.1 billion on Medi-Cal patients who were either ineligible or potentially ineligible for benefits. The audit found fault with the state's computer system used for verifying eligibility. It also found mistakes by caseworkers. California officials say they've taken steps to address the problems identified in the audit. It's not known whether the federal government will seek reimbursement from the state. Kenny Goldberg, KPBS News.
Scientists are studying new pill-taking apps for diseases where medication especially matters. AP reporter Carla Johnson says experts praise the efficiency, but some say the technology raises privacy and data security concerns.
Nurse Peggy Cooley uses her smartphone to fight tuberculosis.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Peggy.
No problems with the pills?
No, not at all.
And they take the pills.
A little bit, yeah.
And then we talk for another 30 seconds. The phone call is over. The visit is done. It's successful. And we know they've taken their medications.
Making sure tuberculosis patients take their pills is crucial. Skipping a dose can lead to a drug-resistant strain. Usually, patients must see a nurse daily to take their medication. Now they can use their phones, saving time and money.
We can accomplish in a 2-minute phone call something that might have taken us an hour to do, and most of that hour was in the car.
About half of drugs for chronic conditions are never taken as prescribed because of expense, side effects, or forgetfulness. Opioid addiction is a new frontier being explored for smartphone monitoring. New apps use selfie-style videos to make sure patients take their treatment medication. In Tennessee, Dr. Brent Boyette is using one app, called Emoca, with patients addicted to opioids.
This app is a new tool that allows us constant contact with the patient, and so that we can receive warning signs and red flags of things like cravings and those kinds of potential gateways to relapse.
Patients upload selfies of themselves taking their daily dose of an addiction treatment drug and answer questions about cravings and side effects.
Wow.
Dr. Judith Sui is studying how it might help patients.
What excites me about this technology is that it's a way to potentially get patients more engaged and invested in their treatment.
Some experts worry about privacy and data security.
I think that as a consumer, anyone who uses this app should know who will be able to access the data, how it will be used, and we should all be really aware of the ways in which this information could be used against us.
Developers say data is encrypted to protect patient privacy, and Peggy Cooley sees big advantages in giving patients a sense of convenience.
Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
Next, researchers will study if the apps can improve care after kidney transplants. Carla Johnson, Associated Press.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, Kim Jong-un meets with China's president in his first trip outside North Korea since becoming the country's leader. That's coming up at 7, right after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Temperatures are going up across San Diego, and in some places it may feel like summer already. Julia Wyden has tonight's forecast.
Hey, good evening. The weather is trending incredibly quiet for the next few days, and temperatures are going to be a little bit on the warm side, so really feeling comfortable in a lot of spots. As we look out into the future, however, there's no sign of rain, and around here we do really need to see some wet weather because of the drought situation that's been taking place across Southern California. But again, does not look like we'll have any in the near future. Looking at satellite and radar, this is a very quiet map. There's nothing to show you. Clouds have been in the process of fading away. You have to look well off to the north and east in order to see any activity. You look out towards Colorado. That's where we have some showers that are taking place at the moment, but all of California is rather quiet for right now. Watching for a little bit of fog late tonight. Temperatures going to dip down into the mid-50s. As we look around the region, you'll see spots in the upper 40s like Oceanside. Ramona going to be at 43 degrees during the overnight, and skies will be clear in many spots. It's coastal zones that will be dealing with that threat for fog. Very warm all across Southern California as we go through Thursday. Temperatures going to be running about 5 degrees above average for this time of year in San Diego. We'll be at 72 degrees when normally we're more like mid to upper 60s. Sunshine all across this map. In desert spots, we could be dealing with temperatures that work well on into the 90s over the next few days. At the coast, however, significantly cooler than that. Low 70s for the coast as we go through Saturday, getting a touch bit cooler for Sunday and Monday. And that's the theme here. I think temperatures will be a little bit lower overall everywhere on our map for Sunday and Monday, going from 80s inland to low 70s for the finish of the weekend. And in the mountain region, we'll be in the upper 60s for Thursday and Friday, dropping to low 60s, though, for Sunday and for Monday. But hey, that sunshine is going to remain shining bright. Finally, for the desert area, this is where the heat will be cranked up into the low 90s for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, dipping back down to the mid and upper 80s for Sunday and Monday. And again, that sun will remain rather vibrant. We'll keep you updated on the latest.
Baseball season is here. The Padres' home opener against the Milwaukee Brewers is scheduled for tomorrow at 1:10. The Metropolitan Transit System says it's boosting trolley service to meet game day demand, with trolleys running at shorter intervals and with direct service to Petco Park. A new online platform helps elderly people find happiness and health. In tonight's SciTech Report, reporter Maddie Orton introduces us to members connecting and benefiting from senior center services in the digital space.
For older adults, feeling lonely is more than a matter of happiness. According to a 2012 study, loneliness in seniors affects their health and longevity of life. So when Microsoft and New York City's Department of Aging teamed up with Self-Help, a nonprofit promoting independent living for seniors in New York, there was a need to fill. And Executive Director of Self-Help Innovations, David Dring, knew exactly where to direct their efforts.
We recognized that a number of the people that would go to our senior centers, would slowly stop going, and for any number of reasons no longer be able to access the socialization, the education, and the enrichment that would happen for them at the senior center. So we said, what if we were to use technology to essentially bring the senior center services to people in their home? Hi, Bernie. How are you? Good to see you.
The focus of Dring's career has been utilizing technological innovations to help older adults live independently, safely, and with dignity. Still, what would eventually become Self-Help's virtual senior center brought with it some unique challenges. Most notably, creating an intuitive interface for a generation that didn't grow up with computers, and serving some users who were completely unfamiliar with how to use one.
You know, teaching someone how to use a mouse, for example, if you were to hold the cord, the mouse sort of dangles underneath. And so if you follow adult learning theory, you would know that an older adult would map a mouse to a mouse. So the tail would be the back of the mouse, and so you would turn it around and you would try to use the mouse with the tail, or essentially the cord, pointing you. And you would go in opposite directions on the screen.
Dring opted for a touchscreen. Virtual Senior Center computers also use a custom-made interface that brings users directly to its home screen. 5 years after launching, Dring still looks for ways to improve the system.
We really did an interactive process. We were constantly working with the participants in the program to give us their advice on what was working, what wasn't working. We would do a lot of in-home technical assistance calls for people with the purpose of watching them use the device to see what was the actual problem that they were experiencing, and then figuring out how we could use the technology to solve the problem instead of training them on how to use it differently.
That mentality has cut training time for senior users from several weeks to just an hour and a half. Computers are sometimes free or provided on a sliding price scale, and setup and training are included. What started as a pilot program of about 6 users has exploded into a fully active, true virtual senior center with over 400 members and about 40 classes a week. Users are equipped with a built-in camera and microphone to join in on lectures, discussions, concerts, and even fitness lessons.
Where am I in this thing here? Bottom right?
I don't know. I'm Peter Marshall. That's all I know.
It's been a game changer for senior John Gatiss. He had been visiting Self-Help's brick-and-mortar senior center for computer classes until his wife passed away, and he suffered 2 strokes, making leaving the house a real challenge.
Being able to use this computer and having computer classes here and not having to go to the center, it's opened up the whole new world of reality to me. Subsequently, through physical therapy, I was able to get back to walking. Now I don't want to give this up anymore. So I'm not going to the center, but I have this. And my friends are really on here. My virtual friends are on here.
Gatiss has his longtime friends and hobbies, but he says the virtual senior center provides something new in his life, and that's exciting. He travels remotely and discovers new places, learning pieces of different languages along the way, all from the comfort of his own home, sometimes accompanied by his furry sidekick, Theo.
So it's like having somebody in the house with me, you know. Yeah. It is actually great for that.
The socialization of the virtual senior center and the benefits from the classes it provides can be extraordinary. Janice Baker Offit has MS. She loves to be active and used to walk to the gym every day, but recently she's become more homebound. Today she joins John Gatiss and dozens of others from her home in Chicago to participate in a music performance and discussion.
And it's amazing what you can do, not only dancing in a chair, but exercising in a chair and lifting not only my legs, but my spirits to all types of heights.
Also joining today's class, Doris Cox. She says the virtual senior center came at the right time for her.
I was physically, just about burnt out. But with this mental stimulation from this program, where we have a lot of different classes and we participate in discussions and we listen to music and we take exercises, now my doctor is saying that all my tests are coming back within the normal range.
Beyond the benefits from physical and mental stimulation, Dring says the virtual senior center will allow for better overall care moving forward. He found in testing with Self-Help's case management programs that connecting with patients face-to-face virtually led to more productive check-ins than those done over the phone.
For example, we had one person who was a part of our case management program for 3 or 4 months over the summer. They were doing their monthly phone call check-in, and everything sounded fine. Then they put the person on the virtual senior center, and they did a call in, and the guy was sweaty. And they're like, well, why are you sweaty? He's like, well, my air conditioner broke. Well, why didn't you tell us? We have access to resources to be able to buy you a new air conditioner. And so the things that happen physically, again, the body language that happens is so important in understanding what a person's actual situation is.
But for regulars like Gatus, nothing beats the opportunity to make new friends and learn new things every single day.
With the computer, I'm taking dog training lessons.
Oh, great! That's excellent.
So, and we're going to learn, aren't we? I'm going to learn you. Get lost.
California has a new deputy first dog. Governor Jerry Brown made the official announcement today that Callie Brown will assist first dog Calusa Brown in herding staff at the state capitol, noting that the 2-month-old Bordoodle will not require Senate confirmation, though she will appear almost anywhere there are treats. You can find tonight's story on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.